guys. Welcome back to the Noob Spearo podcast. It's the first episode of 2022. Super stoked to have you along with me. Today we've got Mike Kane. He is one of the co-owners of Spear West, which is one of the best spearfishing shops in the Perth city in Western Australia. Really nice guy. Really had a good chat. This is the first solid interview of 2022, and massive thanks for Mike for being my first victim of the year. I wanted to read you a couple of quick reviews of the podcast up on podchaser.com. If you listen to the podcast on Spotify, I'd be honored if you came and left a review for the Noob Spearo podcast on podchaser.com. Team Elongatus said 5 stars. I created this account just to rate Noob Spearo. Hands down, my favorite podcast. Everything I've learned from the Noob Spearo has brought me up over the years from the day I started spearing, and I haven't stopped listening and learning. I know I can account for fish because of this podcast. Many thanks, Shriek and Turbo. Keep it up and keep the stoke. Thanks, Team Elongatus. That was awesome. Jacob Gonzalez says 5 stars. Without a doubt, I owe all my spearfishing knowledge to this podcast. Stop reading this and go listen to the podcast if you want to better your spearing career. It's hilarious, down to earth, and gives you a wealth of knowledge. Keep up the great work, Shrek. Tyler says 5 stars. Also, really enjoyed this podcast. I've been overwhelmed with the knowledge, entertainment, and love getting in-depth stories from expert spearos. Very professional interview style and excellent selection of interviewees. Noob Spearo podcast has got me back into spearing. Thank you. That are some really just awesome interviews. Really great way to start the year, reading feedback like that from listeners just like you. Talking about feedback, on Amazon.com, 99 tips to get better at spearfishing is still up, still doing well. JG says, derived from real world experts, the tips here work and cannot be gained without years of shooting. Most strongly recommended, would buy again and again. And 99 Spare Recipes was raised on Kickstarter last year. Massive thanks to every single one of you that got on and backed that project. It was huge. 330 of you jumped on and supported that podcast, put your money where your mouth is, and invested in a cookbook crowdsourced from Spearos just like you from every corner of the world. It's actionable seafood meals for the everyday diver. It's going to be up on Amazon somewhere around the middle of the year. For the people that jumped on and backed the Kickstarter, they're going to get their rewards in the mail, hopefully March, April. I'm thinking more April. The book is progressing well. It's in an alpha version now. It's about to go to beta. But hey, I've held you up long enough today. Let's get into today's interview. Spear West owner Mike Kane, WA Spearing. Here we go, Perth. One for you. I can't wait to get into today's episode, brought to you with proud partner adreno.com.au. The Noob Spearo podcast has been partnering with adreno.com.au for more than 100 episodes, and these guys are awesome. They have huge spearfishing mega stores all over the country. You can shop online or in store. Use the code NoobSpearo whenever you spend more than $200 and you will automatically save $20. That's right, use the code NoobSpearo online or in store when you spend more than $200 and save $20. I love these guys. I remember the first time I bought a spear gun at adreno.com.au down at the Wollongabba store, and Adreno have been a huge part of the excitement that I have about spearfishing. Check them out at adreno.com.au. Use the code NoobSpearo to save. Neptonics was founded in 1996, making trigger mechs in a barn in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Solid gear that works was their founding principle, and it still rings true today in every pull of a Neptonics trigger, in every snap of a Neptonics band, and in every whiz of a Neptonics spear gun reel, singing with the power of another big fish. Got a great deal. You can use the code NOOB10 to save 10% off anything and everything at neptonics.com. It's solid gear that works, equipment you can rely on. Save 10% off any order at neptonics.com when you use the code NOOB10. Support for the Noob Spearo podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offer precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0, all across Australia and New Zealand. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off, free worldwide shipping with the code NoobSpearo in one word, NoobSpearo one word at manscaped.com. G'day Noob Spearo community. Today I'm joined by Mike Kane, Spear West owner, operator, passionate WA Spearo. He's been dobbed in by one of his good mates, Aaron Parton, who I've just heard is an absolute legend to go boating with apparently. Is that right, Mike?
Well, I don't know if legend's the term I'd use, but it plays an experience when Aaron's involved. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, righto. So Aaron says you know how to hunt, and you've shot some good fish over your time, like 9+ kilo red emperor, plenty of mackerel, big coral trout, and even a black marlin, I hear.
It was a blue marlin. That was a couple of years ago. But probably that was a fish that I guess I wanted to tick off the list, so to speak. But I did that with a charter operator who pretty much fed me the fish. So albeit it was a great fish to capture, it sort of wasn't a standout for me. It didn't involve the hunting and the travelling and the, I suppose, time and effort that other fish have taken to capture.
Yeah. Do you think that that's a big part of the appeal of spearfishing, is that it's like, like the rewards are commensurate with the amount of effort you put in?
I think it's like most things in life. I think they're directly proportional. You might get a bit of dumb luck and the odd person spears a good fish they stumble across, but the good guys, they're not getting those regular good catches just out of luck. I mean, it's time, it's effort, it's preparation. It's all things involved. And to me, that's where spearfishing is one of those rewarding sports that, if you put the time and effort in, you tend to reap the dividends.
That old analogy too, like in the line fishing world, they say like 1% of the line fishermen catch 99% of the fish. Do you feel like that there's a correlation with that to spearing? And do you think that the guys that put in the yards are generally the ones that get rewarded? And do you think it's more of a research thing, or do you think it's like a time in the water? Do you think it's like a physical ability thing? Or what's your kind of theory on what makes a good spearo?
Well, I think it's a little bit different from the line fishermen in that the fact that the line fishermen, the 1% catch 99% of the fish, I totally agree with that. But I think spear fishermen, as they progress in the sport, they become a lot more selective. So they don't become about the large quantity of fish. They target their species and they want to capture, particular fish. And I think that's where spearfishing as a sport or a form of angling is so much more selective and sustainable. That being said, I think spearfishing and spearfishers' abilities are probably a mixed bag. I mean, you get divers who can dive for 3.5 minutes, but if they're sitting on a sand flat, chasing reef species, they're not going to do too well, are they? So I think a lot of spearfishers who have come from a line fishing background seem to do well because first they can find the areas and the fish, and then obviously diving capabilities. But I think the big one as well is presence in the water. We've all dived with people that, you see them holding a spear gun, chasing fish down to the bottom. And I mean, I look at them and think they look scary. So I don't know what a fish thinks. So you see other people and they got that presence in the water. They're calm, they're cool, and fish seem to, fish are naturally inquisitive. They come over and have a look. I don't think to capture good fish, you need to have ridiculous breath holds. If you can swim down and land on a fish, most fish you can capture on a minute dive, I would think.
Yeah, good call. Let's get into a little bit more of that when we get into the interview. But Mike, give us a little bit of an overview. Like, how old are you? How long have you been living over there in Perth? And what's your background? And when did spearfishing start for you?
I'm Perth born and bred. So as I just touched on, I was a line fisherman from very young age. We used to do a lot of hand spearing in the river and in the ocean, just shore diving when I was young. But fishing's always been a massive passion of mine. Probably wasn't until I was 30 and I was just on the net and started just for whatever reason, went off and started Googling and watching some YouTubes of guys hunting Spanish mackerel and pelagics actually. And that really captivated me. To the point I was watching them and it almost seemed unbelievable that these guys could hunt these fish on breath hold. Basically, I watched it and thought, I want a piece of that. That looks insane. So I joined a local club here, and that was the beginning.
The WA Undersea Club?
Yeah.
Because you got a couple of decent and dominant spearing clubs now on the West Coast, don't you?
Well, there's the WA undersea, and then there's the blue water freedivers. It's predominantly those two.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, joining a spearfishing club was a really good stepping stone. It introduced you to a lot of people and a lot of people with experience. Always found with most things in life, if you want to improve, you want to try and hang out with the best in that field. It's going to make you improve rapidly, I guess. So I tried to associate with those people where I could.
So you're 30. You've decided you're going to spear, like come hell or high water. By the sounds of it, you wanted to get down and start shooting mackerel. You joined a club, which is a fantastic, great step, which is one of the benefits of being a bit older. When you start something, you tend to know some learning shortcuts, which like you identified as kind of being around those people that have got that knowledge and experience. Walk us through joining the club and where to sort of from there. Like, was there some standout characters that took you under their wing? Yeah,
100%. So fortunately, I've always owned a boat. So if you join a spearfishing club and you own a boat, you're going to bypass a lot of people. You're not
make a lot of friends.
Yeah. But no, there was a couple of standout guys for me who, you know what it's like with diving. If you don't have that relationship diving from the onset, it just doesn't typically work. And some guys you dive well with and some guys you don't. There's a guy, Gould, at WA Undersea, and he was very good to me, showed me a lot of things, because you soon forget as a new diver. I mean, it's hard work. You're cumbersome in the water. You're awkward. You probably scare fish. You're pretty much getting in the way of good divers on those.
Yeah, you're a liability for the start, definitely.
Pretty much. So, Graham was very good to me. And then the other thing is, these guys, they did the travel and opened up a lot of places, showed me a lot of things, and just even how they prepare for their spear trips in terms of packing equipment that you need, that you don't need, and so on and so forth. So that really opened up a lot of information to me, and then it was just a progression from there.
So you brought some skills with you, and you had the boat. You understood how to talk and communicate to people, and you understand some shortcuts with learning. It's still got to be quite intimidating being 30 years old and putting on a wetsuit for maybe, I don't know if it was your first time, but getting in the water and then, feeling like a noob when you're 30 years old, jumping in the water with a bunch of people that are quite experienced. Walk us through one of your first dives, and getting past that kind of that, you can have that imposter syndrome, like where you feel like you don't belong here, and and sometimes it makes it worse when you're around people that are very talented and very good at what they do. Can you remember any of those sort of first moments?
Well, not really, because anyone who made me feel like that, I think I'd bypass generally in life. And that's probably quite the opposite, that most of the people that I've met in the spearfishing world have actually been quite welcoming and encouraging. I've not found that negative element too much, but, maybe that's also because if I did find that, I'd probably leave that situation pretty quickly. That being said, it was actually the first trip I did with these guys. We went up to go to Carnarvon, and we reached there, which is about a 10-hour drive north of Perth. And anyway, the wind wasn't quite as forecast, so we we spent the night there, but we drove back to Geraldton, and we went to the Abrolhos Islands, which is about 60 k's west of Geraldton. Geraldton's about 5 hours north of Perth. And as I touched on before, my dream was always to shoot a Spanish mackerel, and I hadn't shot one, and this was literally my first trip away with these guys. And we were diving the back of the reef there, and I was with Graham, who I mentioned earlier, and we're in about 6 metres of water, and a mackerel swam underneath me. And, again, I hadn't seen Spanish in the water. And I didn't have to dive, shot it from the surface. And the fish went 21 gilled and gutted.
Oh, and, that's your first mackerel. Holy moly.
And so I said to the guys I was with, I'm done. I mean, I'm happy to sit on the boat. I don't think I need to get much more out of this trip. Anyway, we continued to dive, and then we went up to the next group of islands to the north, and the guys were going for some jewfish and so on, and they started chumming up in the water. And that's when the bronzies joined the party. And that was probably, I definitely found that daunting. I didn't mind when you could see one or two sharks. They started coming in from different directions. And that was just, as you experience, as time goes by, you know, you can start reading the sharks, their behaviour and so on. But at the time, I found that pretty daunting. But apart from that, no, not at all.
So walk us through. So like you glazed over it, but even shooting a mackerel from the surface, I mean, it's a big target you're aiming at too. But I like even now, like sometimes mackerel season comes through, and I haven't seen one for sometimes 6 or 9 months or something like that. And then I get a school of them come in, or a big sickle like the one you sort of had, and they approach and they swim sort of pretty lazy underneath you, but that excitement and the heart rate goes right up. And quite often it's very easy to get that big buck fever and, you know, throw a bad shot. What gave you the tenacity and the calmness to be able to get a good bead on that fish and shoot it?
Oh, look, I wouldn't have a clue. That was literally beginner's luck.
Yeah.
You know, since then, I still love hunting Spanish mackerel. I don't know what it is about them, but I love to shoot Spanish mackerel. So, no, I find that I don't actually – I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't find I get that. I find that they captivate me under the water, but I don't think that I get any I don't get that rush of blood, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're pretty blessed here on the West Coast. We get some really good fish from time to time.
World record, 46 kilo taken off there?
Yeah. And then it was it 2 years ago in the same area, because it's where typically a lot of us go to hunt big fish. And I was lucky enough to get a 37.8, which was a good fish, but it'd be lovely to get one over 40.
There's only a handful of people that have shot them over 40, though, although I'm led to believe that they grow up over 55.
Yeah, well, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, me too. All right, cool. So other lessons learned sort of in that time period, like how about the diving skills? Did they come to you pretty natural, or was it a slow and steady progression?
I've always spent a lot of time in the water. So in terms of being comfortable in the water, I've had no issue there. I haven't probably, you know, I don't do the long dives that other guys I know do. But in terms of being comfortable in the water and, you know, being able to spend all day in the water, I'm pretty comfortable and relaxed, yeah.
Okay, so if you've got a shorter dive window, which I think a lot of guys have that, but they use their time smart. Let's say you've got that. Maybe you've got a 50-second dive. Like I know a lot of people do. They maybe they can do 2 minutes on a dry training app or something like that. But as you know, it doesn't necessarily correlate to a dive in the ocean. So you've got an average sort of 50-second drop time. How do you advise guys to use that time the best?
Well, I think you need to be smart. I mean, if you're working with currents and so on, you know, boat positioning's massive. You've got to hit the drop zone where the fish are, obviously. And the other one is which everyone dives a bit differently. I'm big on buddy diving, not just from a safety perspective, but I actually think that two guys can cover a lot more ground. And if you bounce off each other, you know, that's the edge of the reef there. It's another 10 metres that way. I saw a couple of fish there. If you work well with your dive buddy, I think that's also a big bonus. And I do think, it as I touched on before, it's like most relationships, not everyone works well together, but if you can find a dive buddy that you do work well with, you can also help maximise those dives. But I do think the boat positioning is huge, and, you know, working with the elements a bit when you do have current and so on, and you've got to drift dive and, you know, make sure you hit those zones.
Great news, guys. Adam Stern has made his freedivingfamily.com courses available at a discount for the Noob Spearo community. If you get on freedivingfamily.com, use the code SPEARO, you'll get 20% off any course. There's a bunch of sick courses on there. There's an equalizing stage 1. There's an equalizing advanced techniques video there. They're two of my absolute favorites. If you have any problems with equalizing, go to freedivingfamily.com. Get Adam's course and use the code SPEARO to get 20% off any course. Check it out at freedivingfamily.com. Are you following at Old Man Blue Dive on Instagram yet? Bert Calder, creator of the Old Man Blue Dive gear, is an absolute legend. They're people that froth on the spearing life and intentionally make super hard wearing and practical gear that will stand the test of time. Visit oldmanblue.com.au and check out a bunch of tough, robust equipment made by people that are just as passionate about spearing as you are. oldmanblue.com.au. Okay, so let's say I'm traveling over from Brisbane to come dive with you, Mike, and you and I are going to buddy up for a dive. We're headed out to the spot. It's an hour offshore. What's the advice? How would you walk me through how to be a good buddy for you in the water?
Well, the best system that I have with a mate of mine over here, Paul, who I dive with regularly, we always have a flasher, and whoever's holding the flasher is spotting that dive. Just so I know it sounds pretty simplistic, but it just means that it's quite clear who's spotting and who's diving, because we've done the old, that bit looks interesting, and now there's something the other way that looks interesting, and suddenly you're 200 metres apart, and that's that.
Yeah.
So we use that as a system, and it works quite well. But I think you just need to be there for when the guy surfaces. Firstly, that's probably mostly coming from a safety perspective, but then I'm always interested. What did you see? What was the ground like? Is it worth another dive? Should we go over this way? So, we chat pretty much after every dive. We just, it might only be a few words or a sentence, but that's how we do it. And, it seems to work well. But I know other guys who they love their solo diving and so on.
Yeah. I find I get better results, particularly when you're starting to dive some deeper stuff, like maybe even not even super deep, but I don't know, getting beyond that 40, 50 foot mark, like where you can't see everything on the bottom and you can't do stuff. And the safety obviously comes into it more as you dive deeper as well. If you're diving a lot of structure and you've got, you are diving in current, buddies definitely makes sense to me. So I'm 100% in agreement with you. What do you do when you get in the water and you realize that the person you're diving with is either A, got half your ability, or half your experience, which means that they're diving half the depth, or B, they are double as good as you and they are they're wanting to dive just hectic stuff that is way outside your comfort zone. What do you do in those scenarios if you're with a new person?
Look, I don't think that should make any difference. The second scenario of the better skilled diver who can dive deeper than you, I look at that as an opportunity for you to be able to try and dive a bit deeper, especially so long as they're a good dive buddy and they're looking out for you. That's the best scenario, isn't it? Because you know that if they're going to be able to get down to deeper depths than you, so you're in a safe position. Probably if you've got the inexperienced diver with you, I would suggest isn't the day to try your PBs and so on and so forth. You might just come in a bit shallow, but that's, I guess, a reverse scenario that you can then try and help that person get a little bit deeper on that day. So both are positives, but probably need to be managed in their own terms, slightly different ways.
Love it. That's good. All right, let's get into some story time. Can you think of a memorable stalk you've done? So maybe you've made it to the bottom and you've done everything right, or you've done something wrong, and either it's the one that got away or it's one of your most proudest sort of stalks. Can you think of a story that comes to mind?
Yeah, for me, that would be we're up off Exmouth, and I was with a good mate, Lee Mitchell, up there, and it was probably testing out my maximum of my abilities. He's a very talented diver. And like I was saying before, one of the really good people to dive with, looks out for you, but also pushes you a bit. And the water wasn't the best. It's probably, 5 metre vis, and we're targeting jobfish, and we're in about 25, 26 metres. And as you and most of your listeners probably appreciate, unless you can get right down onto the bottom for those fish, you don't really have a hope in hell. So that was quite a big dive for me. Anyway, I managed to get down there, line up the fish, and it went just under 9 kilo, which is not a bad jobby, albeit those boys do get some much better ones up there. But that was probably a standout fish for me, because I had to mentally prepare for it. Commit to the dive, I guess. And they can be a little bit hard to shoot at times.
Yeah, I was going to say that they're a tantalising fish, and they swim close to you, and then I love the way they turn on a dime just out of range, and their fins flare, and they just turn, and they're just beautiful to watch, and then they sort of tease you. Was that a decent bit of bottom time you had to put to get that fish, or did you time it just right?
Well, again, Lee being the skipper he is, you don't normally have to swim too far from the spot when he puts you on a spot. So, no, not really. It was more just a matter of, how they can stay off you a little bit, and until you get down and, sort of maybe rustle a bit of sand and so on, they tend to come in. But, no, not really. It was more a matter of just getting down to the depth through the dirty water, and then waiting for the fish to come into you.
It's a big, intimidating dive. I had a friend who I was chasing jobfish with, and he coined it the jobfish dance, because there's very much that sort of that interplay, and you really feel like it's such a battle of the wits with those fish. I love hunting them personally. They're one of my favourites, and they're a real challenge for my diving ability, so I can relate to your story.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Toughest situation. What's something scary that's happened to you out there, and I mean, what did you learn from it?
Probably out at one of the reefs off Shark Bay. I was with my young bloke, and he was probably 13, 14 at the time, I guess, 14. And there was a bit of swell running, bit of current. We're at an offshore reef, anchored up, chasing mackerel. Anyway, he managed to put the spear into quite a nice fish, which then had to swim us further from the boat against the current and so on and so forth. And I looked back at the boat, and, the swell had just picked up and was starting to feather, the waves. And I looked at where we were and what could potentially go wrong. So I ended up grabbing hold of his line there and just pulling as hard as I could on the fish, which then the spear gave way, which I was pretty well thankful for, because you sort of go through the reel of what could have been, and you're 70 k's offshore, strong current, you and your 14-year-old boy. I don't think it'd make a great headline. I certainly don't think it'd be Father of the Year award should that gone pear-shaped. So that we were safe, but at the same time, I guess I think when you put your kids into those situations, it becomes more apparent just of how dangerous or exposed you can be.
Yeah. It's a good insight too. But in the age of sort of helicopter parenting and, just leaving your kids on the Xbox all day, it's pretty awesome that you're getting them out there and getting them amongst it, and understanding that there are some things in life that you have legitimate cause to be afraid of, like sharks and current and big seas and all the other challenges that we sometimes face out there.
Yeah, but I think everything in life's an evaluated risk, and typically, the guys I dive with, we try and do things the right way, so you limit all those potential risks as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. Where did your awareness of evaluating risk come from? Was that a workplace thing? Was that something you learned with age?
No, I think it's just I don't think I could pinpoint where it came from. I think it's just a common sense thing that.
Mine started to develop because I used to do too much silly shit, and you just learn everything the hard way.
Yeah, well, you can learn from your mistakes. As you touched on before, Aaron always highlights how things can go wrong pretty quickly when you take him diving. Yeah. So,
yeah, but you need those characters too. They make the trips more fun.
Yeah.
All right, Veterans Vault, I wanted to chat with you about WA. Like you and I were sort of sharing before we got started about how in WA there seems to be this sort of cultural mindset that it's okay to drive for 4 to 24 hours to go for a dive over the weekend. Do you think, what are the reasons for this mindset?
Oh, I think, WA just as it is. I mean, we're so sparse and spread out. We've got such a massive coastline. We do have quite different zones here as well. We have like the West Coast and the Gascoyne and so on, and they've all got different bag limits, and there's certainly the abundance of fish in those remote areas is a lot different to the Perth metro. That being said, a lot of good fish do come from the Perth metro area, but it's nothing like heading north or south from here. But I think most people that I know, they're happy to do a 6, 10-hour, 12-hour drive if the rewards are there, and they are actually there. Like the places we go to are that good, and I think the reward for effort is certainly there.
I was supposed to do a trip over last year with Bert Calder from Old Man Blue, and we were going to do some remote WA diving, and a few listeners reached out to me, and they were just like, yeah, I'll meet you there. It's only just up the road. And I said, whereabouts are you? And then I looked on the map, and 7 hours drive. They were going to come over just for a yarn after a day's diving. So it's a different mindset, but I like it and I appreciate it. It seems like a different pace of life over there than perhaps the east coast of Australia.
Maybe. Again, I've not dived on the east coast. I'd love to one day. But I think it might be a spearfishing mindset as well, because I know when I still speak to line fishermen, I know they go, "You went where for a weekend? You did what?" And it sort of blows them away a bit how far we travel. But I sort of go, well, that's where I got to. Where did you go? I think it's well worth it.
Yeah. Okay, so from you're in Perth Metro. Whereabouts is Spear West, the shop?
We're in Osborne Park, which is pretty well central in Perth. It's not really north or south. It's pretty much in the middle.
Okay. And so most of your driving and dive trips, you're headed north, or do you go south as well? And what are you targeting generally? Like, give us a run through of maybe a couple of different trips you like to do.
I typically head north. As I touched on before, I love the Abrolhos Islands. It's just one of those special places. And then from there, normally north, Carnarvon, Exmouth and further. Love Red Emperor.
Yeah.
Just love their presence in the water.
I love Red Emperor. They don't seem, once you find them, they don't seem particularly hard to hunt, but I don't understand how to get onto them. Like in terms of what to look for with ocean and stuff.
Yeah.
And reef and
that was a recent dive trip. I got a PB red, and it was interesting. We'd been up, there was a really small bit of show on the sounder, and we marked this bit of ground, and we went back there and we're diving, and it got quite late in the day and there was current, so the viz was poor, but we just hit the edge of it just as it was sort of getting dark, and there was some big trout and so on, but you could see it wasn't the main part of the ground. It was only a very small spot. Anyway, and then we ran out of time, got dark and so on. But we went back there on another trip, and I managed to hit right on the mark. First dive, and there was 3 big reds, and you know when they sort of sit on top of each other?
No. I've only ever seen one, and I managed to shoot it, but he was solo.
All right. Anyway, so they look like they're all similar size. I find reds quite hard to gauge underwater, because, they stick out those pec fins, and they got such a presence about them that I think once they're over 10 kilo, I find it hard to go, oh, that one's 11 or 12 or, they're all good fish.
I think I've only seen undersize, apart from the one I shot that was decent, but he wasn't quite 10.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so anyway, so I did the drop there, and the fish I shot off that was 11.4. So he was a good fish, and then I just left the other ones because, I can't see the point in just
hammering them.
Nah.
They stack up, do they? Well, even the bigger ones.
Well, these three just were sitting sort of on top of each other almost. But I've had the other ones we've seen where, you'll dive down and suddenly this big fish will almost charge in at you, as in, what are you doing on my patch of reef? So
yeah.
they're a funny fish, but I do love their presence in the water. There's something special about the red. So we do like to target them.
They seem to be a fish and I think maybe this is something too that only the experienced guys notice, that they're stacked up with other species in the same area. So you're looking for little hotspots, and like you just sort of alluded to before, that you ignored a few trout really before you saw the reds. Are you seeing aggregations of multiple species when you come across reds generally?
Yeah. I mean, like most spots that hold the good fish you want, there's, always a collection of others, isn't it? It's funny what holds fish sometimes too, isn't it? I often look at these little patches that hold these spectacular fish, and you think, geez, there's not much to this.
Yeah.
So I do find that interesting.
Yeah, cool. So scouting for new ground, is that something you guys spend a fair bit of time doing over there?
Yeah.
What sort of, if you had to assign a percentage of time that you'd spend exploring and scouting, what sort of percentage of time do you think you'd be spending doing that?
It depends on the day, and I guess it depends on the viz as well. If it's a really nice day and you can just jump over and have a quick look to scout something, then I guess your time spent looking doesn't need to be as much. When it's dirty water, you want to make sure that you're putting yourself in the best position to land actually on that spot. Then, there's other days where you can, you got those bigger patches of ground, you can drift them and do plenty of diving. But a lot of the stuff to the north, it's very isolated little spots that you got to hit. So probably we'd spend 20% of the time looking.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So times a day pretty important for hunting a lot of your WA species. Are you dawn and dusk hunters? Are you shooting good fish in the middle of the day? Is it just, are you spreading your efforts?
It's certainly for the demersals any time of day. I still like to dive that first light for mackerel if I can. It doesn't always work out like that if you're travelling and so on. It makes it a bit hard. But if we're doing an island trip and we're overnight, I do like to be, chasing mackerel at first light. I enjoy that. But for the rest of it, we just dive for the day.
So because you've had a boat from the start, have you done much rock hopping?
No.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm not into shore diving.
Okay.
I'm actually waiting for a boat at the moment, which is getting built, and it's not a good place to be. So I was that desperate the other day. I took a kayak with my son to this little offshore reef. We paddled it out there, got some crays, but I hated every moment of it, actually.
I love rock hopping, but this from a guy who's never had a boat. So
I'm pretty happy on a boat, thanks. I'll leave the rock hopping to others.
It's good. I don't know. I've enjoyed my time rock hopping in mud. It gives you an appreciation for the good days and some of the charters that I'm privy to these days. But I still enjoy it. I still going up just for a cray run and some filth. It's good.
Oh, look, I think that's great. That people do it. But yeah, again, my honest answer is it's not for me.
So, you're a co-owner there at Spear West. How do you guys recruit salespeople in your shop? It's a legitimate interest of mine. I've met some really just top characters in and particularly, you know, like the Adreno store here in Brisbane where I started, probably about the same age as you, like in my late 20s I started here, and some of those guys that I met I'm still diving with today, and they made a big difference in how I think about the sport and how I went about it. So I'd be interested to how you recruit people for your shop.
Well, normally it's probably more a matter of because spearfishing, you know, the people get so obsessed with it that they want to work, live, eat, breathe spearfishing. So typically the more junior and casual type guys approach us. Oh, have you got a job in the I want to work in a spearfishing store. We've got Ben here, who's our full-time manager.
Yep.
Who's more experienced in retail and management and so on. So he's our stable. But in terms of the younger floor guys, we pretty much don't have to recruit anyone. They tend to come to us to want to work in a spearfishing shop.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Which is good as well, because it means they're genuinely passionate.
Yeah.
Yeah. As in, the only problem we have is if the weather's good here.
No salespeople left.
Yeah. So, you know, the old roster doesn't get viewed on too well when the weather's good.
But I think it's almost like you actually want that. Like it's a good problem to have when all your salespeople are so frothing mad that the weather's good, they all want to go spearing. You know, like if they're not living the lifestyle as well, it's hard for them to sell some of the gear that they're pushing out through the door.
Yeah, and that's what I've said to Adam, the co-owner here as well. It is actually quite important that we make sure that they do lead that lifestyle. There's no point working in a spearfishing shop and never going spearfishing.
Yeah,
because
100%.
you're at work. And I think that's probably a trap in a lot of outdoor activity businesses like fishing stores or surfing stores or whatever. You actually want to be the guy getting to experience it as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's good to get that balance right. Equalising problems can be something that derail you. Not today, my friend. Go to freedivingfamily.com. Check out either the Frenzel and Advanced Frenzel video or the Mouthful and Deep Frenzel Equalisation course at freedivingfamily.com. You can use the code SPIRO to get 20% off any course at freedivingfamily.com. These courses are put together by Adam Stern and a select team of legends, and to help you overcome different issues and help you perform better. And some of them are extremely relevant for freedive spearing. Check it out at freedivingfamily.com. Use the code SPIRO to get 20% off any course. Function first, pretty design second. Penetrator's dual action water channeling rail provides more efficient action than similar fins by directing more water flow down the blade. This eliminates wobble, meaning that you get way more bang for your buck, for your energy buck. Visit penetratorfins.com. Use the code NoobSpiro to save $25 on every pair, on any pair. That's correct, my friend. Use the code NoobSpiro to save $25 on any set of penetrator blades at penetrator.com. What about funny stuff? You have any? You've alluded to one of your funny mates. What you like to go spearing with? What's one of the funniest things you've experienced out there, and share it with us?
Oh, well, normally I dive with Paul, and we tend to just make things work. But yeah, as you touched on, recently I've taken out Aaron from the store. You never know what's going to happen after he finishes a dive. It normally starts with a bit of spluttering after he's, vomiting up half the ocean. He tends to lose a lot of fish, destroy a lot of gear. The other day, we were up north there, and he shot a shark. I'm not quite sure why, because he thought it was going to attack and eat him. So he lost his spear, his Dyneema. Then he saw this cobia that, sounded like it was a couple of 44-gallon drums put together, and then he was too scared to shoot that because he thought something bad might happen. I had to explain to him, you just shot a shark, mate. I don't think a cobia is going to hurt you. But no, look, we normally just go out, get a few fish, have a laugh and a couple of beers at the end of the day, and it's all good.
Mm-mm. So your kids that you started spearing, are they still spearing with you now?
Yeah, only I've got two sons. Only one of my sons likes the spearfishing, but yeah, he still comes out. Surfing's become more of his passion of late.
Yeah.
But yeah, he still comes on trips. We recently did one to the Carnarvon Islands, which was great. It is pretty special bonding, I think, you get to do on those trips.
Yeah, 100%.
Share all those experiences.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. All right, what about your dive bag? So you're getting a bit of variable water there. Do you travel south much, or is it generally north?
Yeah, I'm pretty much all north, yeah.
Okay. So you're, rocking a 3 mil?
Yeah. Sometimes, you might drop to 2 mil suit. And then we did a trip a few years ago up to Scott Reef, which is way north, and just wore a 1.5 mil. But, yeah, typically 3.5 mil. Yep.
Okay. Any brand preference for suits?
Nah. Wetty's great. Cressy's great.
Yep.
Allen's great. I think all the suit manufacturers now are
doing a good job.
They are. And I mean, most of your suits tend to, how do you put it, wear out in terms of thickness and so on before anything else seems to give way, stitching and joins and otherwise.
Yeah.
So, if you're diving enough, to me, a wetsuit's pretty much 1 to 2 seasons, and then it's
What about Spearguns? Are you religious with your Spearguns?
Spearguns is a funny one because we're in the age where everyone seems to love rollers. I like simplicity. So a 1400 twin band gun is for me.
16 mil rubber, 14 mil.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 16. I know there's guys that were using a 16 and a 14 and so on. I'm not really into all that.
Yeah.
I think when you look at a spear gun and what it is, it's a really basic piece of equipment. And I think I find it interesting how much time people spend researching on how they can get another half metre out of their gun and so on and so forth. I think that time would be better off spent diving or, working on your presence in the water. I think there's so many more important factors to your spearfishing than the actual gun, if that makes sense. So for me, simple, 1400 twin rubbers.
What brand of speargun are you using?
Rob Allen.
Yeah. And do you just use standard setup?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Standard setup. Rob Allen reel, Rob Allen spear, Rob Allen rubber.
Yep.
So it's pretty basic, pretty boring, I guess, but
it's predictable. You know what you're going to get. They are very reliable, very accurate, like time tested and proven.
Yeah. I think as well, though, is whatever gun you use, I think you want to probably try and use the same brand or the same equipment for all of your diving. I see some guys and, they'll pull out a gun for this and a gun for that, which is fine. But to me, it's about knowing your gear and how it works. So if I was to have multiple guns, I might want an 1100, a 1400 and a 1200, but I think there's something in them all being the same brand.
Yeah.
The
same setup.
The same. They perform in the same way. I think you could probably be on a sort of bad path if you had a Manny sub roller and then you pull out your Rob Allen and then your Rife and then your this and that. They're all going to have their own little different characteristics. So for me, I try and have a brand and stick to that brand.
Shaft overhang seems to be a big one. Guys get wrong too, and I've done it myself. Like, if you switch it around between having like standard sort of 400 mil with a Rob Allen, and then if you buy a shorter shaft because you're trying to, like, some people get obsessed with having a shorter overhang on their spear guns, but switching between the two really disrupts my accuracy, I've noticed. Yeah,
and I think that's the exact point, though, isn't it? Like, whether you had 100 mil or 300 mil, just keep it the same.
Yeah. Yep.
And that way, you know what you've got and how it's going to perform. Because, say if you go and get your 300 mil overhang and it performs slightly different and you miss that first fish on your trip, the first thing you're doing is second judging your gear. And I don't think that's a good way to start your dive trip. So I like to just keep it all the same.
100%. Yep. Yeah, I like it. Good stuff. What about the rest of your gear? Is there anything sort of different you do than most of the other people you dive with?
No. Obviously, if we're doing big trips north, I sort of like to cull people's dive bags where I can. You know, so try and keep it minimal.
How many spear guns are people allowed to bring on your boat, or shafts, or whatever else? Have you got a rule?
Depends who they are. If it's Darren, I'm happy to sell him 10 spears at the end of every trip. But look, normally rather than everyone bring 3 guns, we'll keep a few spares between, the 3 or 4 of us divers.
Yeah.
And then, a couple of spare masks and so on. But you want to try and keep the gear to a sensible minimum, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, some guys turn up with their triple man swag and, 6 guns and 4 sets of fins and so on.
Yeah.
So you hold that down pretty quick.
Yeah. What about fins in the shop? What fins do you run personally?
I use dive R's.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's like on the East Coast, but I presume it'd be the same here. But we find dive R's are our standout seller.
Yeah.
Hunt, for sure.
I think they've been purpose made for Australia and New Zealand conditions. I think they go well in the US. I think sometimes in Europe they do have some higher performing type fin brands, but they're generally a lot more delicate than the Diver, Penetrator, Rukus, and some of the other fins we have down here.
Yeah, and they're probably those European type fins are probably for the free divers who are looking for that extra 1% of performance to, dive to 100 metres or whatever they're doing. We've not sold a set of divers here that people haven't been happy with. But we've got, your penetrators and so on and so forth. But personally, I use divers, and, they're probably our go-to over here.
I just love a functional and simple spear gun that I can trust when I pull the trigger. Killshot Spearguns utilize the finest of kiln-dried Burmese teak. Killshot Spearguns also combine American-made parts and fine craftsmanship to bring you accurate, reliable, and simple spear guns that you can trust, fish after fish. Get $30 off any Killshot Speargun at killshotspearguns.com. Yes and amen, Uber. That's $30 off American-made performance spear guns at killshotspearguns.com. I'm really sorry for this terrible accent. Brought to you by Ed Martin at killshotspearguns.com.
In the world of freedive spearfishing, there's no magic breathing technique that's all of a sudden going to get you down and shoot massive fish at depth and holding big bottom times, but there is a way to do it safer and smarter and take down more fuel to maximize the time that you have there. Learn at noobspearo.com/Ted with Ted Hardy from Immersion Freediving. If you take down more fuel, you can stay for longer. Learning to take a bigger breath is not such a big deal. Ted breaks it down for you with a free online course at noobspearo.com/Ted. Take down 20 to 30% more air just by learning how to take a full breath. Again, learn how to do it free at noobspearo.com/Ted. Do you do any training, Mike, with to keep fit, or with spearing and life in general?
Look, I've done a lot of swimming in my time, open water swimming. So I still like to do that. And, my mate Paul and I have just started a block of free dive training because I want to actually hit a bit better depth this year. That's like a goal of mine. We've just started a bit of a block here, and we'll go down the pool. And we even train down in the river just because you can go down there after work without launching a boat. And, the weather can be blowing, but you can still get into sort of that 18-metre mark in the river there and do a little bit of training just to try and maintain or build a bit of dive fitness.
Have you looked at more advanced equalising techniques?
I have, but I don't think that that's an issue for me at this stage, so I haven't explored any further there. I probably would in time. I'll see how I go.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I know, like you were talking before about hunting those jobfish, you can start to get down to those depths and start to just feel like your equalising techniques are coming to the end of their their use, and then you have to start learning some more, like how to bring air back up, or reverse packing, or mouthful, some of these other techniques that the freedivers lend to us.
Yeah, and I think it's like we touched on before, like most skills in life, unless you truly commit or dedicate to spend the time into training to learn these techniques, then you're probably not going to get anywhere. But certainly, if you want to start hitting those deeper depths, I think it is a real necessity that you can start doing that mouthfeel equalisation and so on.
Yeah. I don't think you need to worry about it for a long time when you're starting. It's definitely not for everyone. It's like I don't know. It reminds me of like when I was younger, trying to learn a different language, and we grow up in these predominantly English speaking countries, and there's never any use for the extra language, and it's like unless you've actually got a specific purpose for it, you're probably better off just waiting until you actually need it, and then you'll learn it and it'll stick.
Yeah, 100%, and that's where I'm at with it. For me, my diving at the moment, it's not going to add any benefit to where I'm at this stage. But it's also amazing how, I don't know what it's like on the East Coast, but certainly spearfishing on the West Coast has really exploded, and the amount of courses and information and training available is huge. So probably when you mentioned earlier, what would you advise a new Spearo to do? I reckon a freediving course is the standout for me. For that rapid improvement, I think that would be the best way to start off.
Do you think that more knowledge equals more safety, more awareness?
Oh, definitely. I think that it's almost like there's a new and old school with diving, and the older guys all do the solo diving, and I think the newer guys do all the buddy diving. And I think that's would largely stem from the freedive courses that, I would think more people now spearfishing have done a course than haven't. And I don't know. Have you done a freedive course?
Yeah, I did my instructors. I'm starting to teach courses myself. So
yeah, so they obviously are very. I mean, the first freediving course I did was with a gentleman called Ares, and he was really hammered the safety from the get-go. Not to the point of scaring you, but really let you know in no uncertain terms that budding is important. So, and I guess that has stayed with me certainly through the whole spearfishing journey, to the point where I wouldn't solo dive. I don't find it enjoyable because I like to know that I've got a buddy. And when I say a buddy, one who genuinely looks out for me.
Yeah.
There are two types of buddies. So that stayed with me. And I think that's probably, I think the whole buddy system is really come from a lot of people now doing freedive courses, which is great.
Yeah. One of the very first interviews I did was with Simon Tripp, and I've had him multiple times on the podcast since then, and he was trained by Ares, and probably one of the first Spearos to legitimately do a freediving course and then go through to his instructor level, and now he teaches courses as well, but very much with a specific emphasis on teaching the correct elements for Spearos, because I think there are a lot of old school Spearos that they have their own self-imposed limitations. So they might say like never more than a minute or never more than 10 meters or something like that, and I can go out and dive by myself. But I still say, look, your only bit of safety equipment is your buddy. Like and I stole that line from Simon, and I'm going to keep stealing it because I think it's great, and I'm very much in line with your way of thinking about it. What courses have you done?
I just done the stage 1 and 2.
Paddy, SSI, any preference on the body that does it?
Not at all for me. Yeah. Look, and I don't know enough about it, but I would suggest that the instructor's probably more important than the body running.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I was fortunate that I did Ares for my stage 1 or stage A, whichever you want to call it, and then this stage 2 or B I did with chap Yoram, and they were both awesome to train with. Yeah. But the other one as well with the older school divers and not doing the buddy system as well. I also think that some of the older school divers as well. I mean, it's just a whole different mentality. They don't share their catch. They're competitive with each other.
Yeah.
So they go, oh, well, I'm going to swim over there and get this, and this. When you buddy up as well, how good is it when your buddy shoots that awesome fish?
100%.
Well done. Share the whole moment.
Yeah.
That's, I don't dive with people who can't. If you can't enjoy someone else's success when you go on a spearfishing trip, then you're best on another boat.
One of the young guys I did my instructors with, his name's Matty, and I've done a couple of courses with Matty now, and phenomenal ability, like younger guy, early 20s, and just phenomenal diving ability, just a natural in the water. And him and I went shore diving off the sunny coast, and we took my oldest boy out with us, and he came out for, I don't know, an hour or so, and then he was buggered, so we swam him in, and then him and I went out and picked around a reef that was probably like it'd be a good 600-700 meters off the shoreline, and it definitely advanced sort of diving, and it was just so fun. Like, I think we only shot 1 or 2 fish each, but they were decent fish, and just the experience of diving with someone that's got your back, and you just have that communication and laugh, and I don't know, it's just like I've dived that spot a lot by myself, and especially back in the day, and I think it was night and day. Like, even that spot that I've enjoyed previously diving solo, diving it with someone else was just, it was awesome. Like, it was a better experience. So
yeah, definitely.
Kill fish with precision and power, sending shafts from a stable platform with Killshot spear guns. Made in the Florida Keys by Ed Martin, you're buying American-made, dependable spear guns. Get $30 off any Killshot spear gun at killshotspearguns.com. Yes and amen, Nuba. That's $30 off American-made performance spear guns at killshotspearguns.com. It says if they're in the shop or on the phone, they can cash in by saying, "Crikey, mate," or the Noob Spearo podcast sent me. Check them out at killshotspearguns.com, based in the Florida Keys. The Fishing Trips app allows you to find new people who are interested in going spearfishing, so you can go for a trip together. It's a great way to make friends and get some extra trips. If you are looking to get out on boats, if you're in an isolated part of the area where you don't have a spearfishing club, and you still want to find a dive buddy and dive safer and smarter, download the Fishing Trips app. It's available on iOS or Android. Download it today. The Fishing Trips app will help you connect with your next best spearfishing buddy. Fishing Trips app. Download on iOS or Android today.
Spearo Q&A, faster paced round on our way out, Mike. Could you describe what the spearfishing experience means to you in one sentence?
Spearfishing for me is an escape. Probably, yeah, an escape from reality and daily stress.
All right. What's the single best piece of advice you've ever been given for spearfishing?
Stay safe.
Yeah, okay, I will leave it at that. What would be your fish of a lifetime?
20 kilo jewfish, West Australian jewfish.
What's your PB?
15.
What is?
And I dive north mainly, so I think that's one of those that,
yeah,
unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be a reality. But yeah,
it's a special fishery over there. They look awesome.
They're a bit like the Red Emperor. There's something about them that's just mind blowing, and especially the big ones. Yeah.
What is the spearfishing destination that you would most like to visit?
I'd love to get to New Zealand.
What do you want to chase there?
I'd like to chase their big snapper.
Cool. So the Northland, the northern part of the North Island.
Yeah. Well, New Zealand's such a great place. Anyway, so I think in terms of a spearfishing holiday, I'd like to do that.
Do it. All right, last question, Mike, and then we'll head out the gate. Who is the best person to go spearfishing with, and why? Specifically, who? Who's your favourite dive buddy?
My mate Lee from Exmouth, Lee Mitchell, for a couple of reasons. One is he's exceptional at finding fish. So if you do a trip with Lee, you're going to shoot awesome fish. that's just how he is. But again, he's a better diver than I am, so he challenges you somewhat, which I touched on at the start. I think that's important. If you want to improve, you've got to go with people who are better than your own abilities. And he loves to travel the long distances. So, yeah, definitely my standout memory trips would be trips I've done with Lee.
Okay, cool. Awesome, Mike. Well, man, I've had an absolute ball chatting with you. I'm sure we missed and failed to cover a ton of ground. It's my first interview back in the new year, so thanks for being my first victim. People can obviously come along and follow Spear West on Instagram. You've got more than 10,000 followers on there. It's always Stoke from the West Coast there. You guys have got an amazing community that's only growing and doing better and better things. So, but where else can people find and connect with you, Mike?
Yeah, well, you can drop into the shop at any stage, or as you said, any of the social media. Jump on that, Instagram, Facebook, or otherwise. But yeah, come down to the store whenever you like, and we'd be happy to help you.
Awesome. Cool. Cheers, Mike. Thanks for joining me.
You too. Thank you.
Guys, massive interview today. Awesome to chat with Mike Kane. 2022, off with a bang. Spear West, what a fantastic shop over there in Perth. If you're in that area, check him out and say hello to Mike. Tell him you heard him on the Noob Sparrow podcast. Next week, or actually in 2 weeks, in a fortnight, we are going to chat with Palapis Ventana men, Tim Hatler and Brock Kennedy. It's Baja, and we're talking Sea Cortez, Mag Bay. These guys shoot some special fish, and they have a very unique setup. Recommended by James Sacker a couple of weeks ago, if you remember. Really stoked to chat with the Palapis Ventana guys. Come back in 2 weeks. Listen to that episode. If you want to support the podcast, jump on podchaser.com. Leave us a review. I'd absolutely love that. But hey, as usual, thanks for sharing it with your mates. It's been a pleasure bringing it to you. That's it. First episode for 2022 done. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Tim Hatler, Brock Kennedy, join me then. Shrek over and out. Today's episode was an absolute banger, and so is our major sponsor, Adreno. Visit them at adreno.com.au. They have a huge range of equipment. You can find it at adreno.com.au. Use the code NoobSpear at checkout. When you shop online, you can save $20 on every purchase over $200. You can even use that code in-store at some of their huge mega stores Australia-wide. Price beat guarantee on any Australian spearfishing equipment price. Again, visit them at adreno.com.au. Use the code NoobSpear. The Noob Sparrow podcast is incredibly proud to be partnering with Neptonics.com. It's solid gear that works, equipment you can rely on. It's the very best in spearing gear from around the planet. Neptonics is also the one-stop shop for all your spearfishing gear, particularly in the US. They got free shipping on all orders over $99 in the US. Furthermore, you can use the code NOOB10 to save 10% off on your entire shopping basket at Neptonics.com. Use the code NoobSpear at Neptonics.com. Precision engineered tools for the family jewels. Noob Sparrow thanks Manscaped, and so should you. I thank Manscaped. Everyone in my life thanks Manscaped because I have got clean goodness down there. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code NoobSpearo, one word, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code NoobSpearo. Unlock your confidence. Always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Men, if you've been shaving with the same nut trimmer on your face, you've been doing it all wrong. No person wants to end up with pubes in their mouth. Go to manscaped.com, use the code NoobSpearo.